Let's talk college football, presented by our friends at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app. Make sure you use the promo code Monty to get 100% deposit matching. Thanks to our friends at Prize Picks. And again, I am stoked. I got my ass kicked on Prize Picks last night. Golf starts tomorrow. I've got a really good 3-pack of picks on Prize Picks. I was so close on Prize Picks last night. That's what it is, man. Did great on the Super Bowl.
Davis.
Won big bucks on the Super Bowl, but last night, very, very difficult. Thank you, Anthony Edwards, for showing up.
Yeah.
Last night. He was huge. All right. I think this story out of the NCAA with the case in Tennessee federal court is, again, another gravitational story in sports. Those of us that follow college football very passionately and very closely, we've been talking about this NIL debacle for the better part of a year now, and I think we all knew it was going to end up in court. Now, a little background on the story. The attorneys general of Tennessee and Virginia filed suit in Tennessee federal court asking for an injunction to prevent the NCAA from enforcing NIL rules, which currently make it illegal. It's illegal. For a university to directly pay a player using NIL as a payment platform.
Because it's illegal.
To come and play football or basketball or any other sport at their university. Well, this injunction, should it be granted, would make it so that universities can directly pay players. Now, there's a couple of dynamics at play here with NIL and the NCAA in this lawsuit. Number one, the bigger issue for me is Tennessee and Virginia and every other school in the NCAA was involved in setting up these current restrictions for NIL. You understand that the NCAA isn't just a bunch of old dudes with yellow hair and billions in the bank making arbitrary rules. And I think this is a really important part of this conversation. Tennessee, Virginia, and every other school in the country has representation and a place in the rulemaking process with the NCAA. Because the NCAA is made up of all of these universities. That's who the NCAA is. They've installed Charlie Baker as their president. They have a board of directors and many committees, and they're all made up of representatives from NCAA membership, which is, again, universities just like Tennessee and Virginia. It's important to keep that in mind when you now know that these two universities, through their attorneys, walked into court yesterday and made the argument that it is an antitrust violation to enforce the rules that they put in place. Now, here's where it gets problematic for the NCAA. When the judge began voir direing the attorneys, because there's no jury here, it is a judge granting or not granting an injunction.
You know,
the judge started asking the NCAA, well, why is it okay for a student athlete to negotiate with a collective, but not with a university? To which the NCAA said, we don't know why that's okay. The NCAA, by reports, including ESPN and Yahoo Sports, who both had reporters in the courtroom, the NCAA had no answer for why it was not allowed for universities to negotiate NIL deals directly with athletes, but it's okay for representatives of a university to negotiate NIL deals with athletes. And again, let's go back in time to all of these court fights, whether it is the Pac-12, whether it is Michigan. Why not stand and make an argument? And the argument that I would have made if I were the NCAA is, well, Your Honor, that's a great question. Why did Tennessee and Virginia, with all of the other NCAA membership, approve these rules in the first place if they didn't want them enforced? Instead, the NCAA pretty much said, we don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. And Jake, I think it is a death note because I believe this judge, who said he is going to rule in short order, and a lot of people expect that to be today, that he will grant an injunction. I think this is absolutely a death knell that the NCAA attorneys had no answer for that question.
And it's surprising. It's very surprising. And maybe it truly is a thing where they didn't want to bring an argument. They didn't want to stand in the way because they know what's inevitable, which is allowing people to do business how they'd like to do business inside of college athletics, and I think that's the difficult part of this conversation. is that at some point the floodgates are going to be opened. You're going to be able to talk to whoever you want. You're going to be able to, sign them for however much money you want. Now, there's going to have to be regulation around contracts, and there's going to have to be some set of structure, but it's going to be far less stringent than it is now. And I think that's the part of this that is a little bit surprising. We were in a place in college athletics, specifically college football, where we were like, yeah, man, we really need to restrict this thing. We really need to, we've heard for so long, we need to protect the student athlete. We need to make sure that the student athlete is taken care of, except we're not going to take care of them financially. We're going to make that more difficult for them. So I think that's the hard part, is there's a lot of hypocrisy in this conversation from the NCAA side. And the student athletes are out here just saying, hey, we're playing football. We've got 2 full-time jobs, a student and trying to be the best we can be on the football field. We should get compensated for this, And so to me, yeah, it is surprising that the NCAA didn't roll up with a better argument. But at the same time, if you're the NCAA, I think you're kind of at a point where it's like, yeah, this is kind of inevitable. And if we make an argument here, what are we really fighting for? Because that's the other thing. If you're the NCAA, are you really fighting for anything here? Because once this happened, and it will happen, the NCAA is now just a bona fide, side company over here that hands out discipline that all the schools agree to. That's it. They're not like it's not like they're the boss sitting on the 100th floor and everyone works under them. That's not what this is. So that's why I say, I just think it's an inevitability that this will get pushed through. And once it does get pushed through, I'm curious what the process is going to look like for all these schools agreeing to, structure around like, hey, if a kid commits to an NIL deal with a school, it has to be a 3-year commitment and you can pay him whatever you want. Is that the kind of structure we're going to work within for NIL? Because the other side of that is, if you're going to make a kid commit to 3 years and then they want to transfer, now we've created the buyout market. And the buyout market in college football is going to be robust if that's the situation, right? Because you're going to have the big boys trying to go out and get all the best talent. And frankly, I think that is where a lot of people get nervous. A lot of people get nervous around that.
And I really do think that this is inevitable. If the NCAA, and I know it's wild, if the NCAA doesn't want to fight NIL anymore, and I don't believe they do, my belief is that the NCAA will not fight this injunction. My belief is the NCAA will stand back and watch the world burn, because I think that's what eventually is going to happen in college football when you allow the blue bloods, and call it what it is, when you allow the haves to buy every one of the best talent from the have-nots, because that's what's going to happen here. I think the NCAA is going to say, well, we tried, guys, and yeah, this is what you wanted, because at the end of the day, that's what this comes down to. And I go back to this point that you have to remember, we're in a society now in this country where we don't want the rules applied to us. We just want them applied to everybody else. And when the rule that we put in place is applied to us, we sue to try and get that rule thrown out. That's exactly what this is. And people forget that we talk about NCAA rules and how dare they put a witch hunt in place against Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. The problem is Michigan put those rules in place, or had a hand in putting those rules in place. Do you think Michigan was involved when they said, yeah, advanced scouting in person is going to be illegal because we don't want to pay staff to have to travel and the infrastructure for it? That's a rule that you can't go and scout in advance. It's not because it's cheating. It's because they don't want to pay for advanced scouting. Michigan had a hand in putting that rule in place.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had a hand in putting these NIL rules in place. Notice that there's not some loud uproar of every university in the country saying, let us pay athletes, let us pay. Because it's not what eventually I think everybody knows now is eventually the world's going to burn.
Yeah.
And so going to court, congratulations, Tennessee, and by default, Virginia. Hey, really cool piece of heavy equipment with the Tennessee Volunteers flag you had out in front of the courthouse. Nice job. This is a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Because the NCAA is not going to fight this.
Yeah, and I think the schools are not going to carve out a budget to pay athletes. They're going to carve out a budget to create a sales organization that generates revenue for them to pay athletes.
And we're going to have this situation now, because what's next? I think, here's how, in my opinion, this is going to go. The injunction is going to be granted. The NCAA will not fight it. That rule will be dead. Schools will begin paying athletes directly tomorrow. Hey, come here. We'll give you $5 million, sign a 3-year deal, a minimum 3-year deal to commit. That's $15 million, life-changing money for you. Here's the question. Are there going to be regulations that say, hey, as part of you giving my child $15 million, you also have to provide him with a fidelity professional who's going to advise him on how to invest that money long-term? Who's going to pay for that? Hey, if you're paying me and I am now technically an employee, or if I'm a 1099 contractor,
right?
Does this mean I have to go to school anymore? Can I just come and play football? Do I have to go to Chem 101? Do I have to go to Trig? Do I have to go to, or can I just practice, lift weights, and collect paychecks? Because that's what this is.
Yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just open the floodgates. What does this allow kids to do? It allows them and their parents and their agents to negotiate contracts. That's what this allows them to do. It means that I'm going to get in the portal. And I also think the unintended consequence here for kids, and so I'm assuming that this is going to go away at some point because some asshole's going to sue, but you can get in the portal, but you're going to sign a 3-year agreement with us, and that's going to use up your eligibility. So are we going to eliminate just 4 years, 5 years of eligibility? Because we're already suing about waivers. We're already suing about NIL. Maybe this kid can stay. He's a great quarterback. Let's have him stay here 10 years. Is that what's going to be next?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question. Because if you're not going to class,
if you're making $15 million, are you really that much of a hurry to get to the NFL? If you're Shedeur Sanders, you're making a lot of money. Shedeur Sanders probably should have entered the NFL draft this year. He's making a lot of money playing for his pop, playing with his brothers. Why is he in a hurry to get to the NFL?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always the unintended consequences.
Yeah, and I think there's no telling what those are. I think that a lot of these ideas are very proper and pragmatic. I think,
certainly,
anytime you start paying people and money moves, a couple of things. The IRS is getting involved, and people are signing commitments that they're inevitably going to break in 2 years. Right? We're going to have a bunch of these situations. Hey, dude, you were, air quotes, a freshman when you joined us. You signed a 3-year deal, and now in your sophomore year, you want to transfer. Who's covering the cost of that 3-year contract?
Yep.
That's what I think for kids and their parents and everything. That's where I just get a little bit concerned, and I'm sure there'll be an answer.
As you should be.
I'm sure it's like, hey, wherever you're going is going to have to, pay us back any money or like a buyout or whatever. I don't know. Like, I just think that you don't know what it's going to look like until we know. Like, I think the classroom point's a great one. It's a great one.
Am I going to school anymore?
Yeah. Like, is it optional now? I mean,
I broke my leg on the second snap of spring practice, and I'm never going to play another down of college football. What do you mean you're not going to pay me? Because that's going to happen. What happens when the first kid gets screwed? Because that's going to happen. A university, and the other part of this is we're minimizing, and I know this is utopic, and Monty, we don't care about education anymore, Monty. We just want to go Dogs. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Get them, Utes. Right? That's what this is. Roll Tide. So now, is there any more that, hey, no matter what, at any time in my life, I'm able to come back and get a degree? Is there any more of that? Because most schools now, you give a kid a scholarship, he's got 10 years after he's done playing sports. If you give a kid a college football scholarship, he's got, in most cases, 10 years after his football playing career ends. He's got 10 years to come back and get his degree. Full ride. Is that going to go away too? Because what is the school really getting out of this employment contract? These are the things that, because we don't, let's stop pretending like we give a damn about the education, because we don't. There's no way you can make an argument that a kid can transfer as much as he wants, and we're concerned about the quality of his education and
Nope.
his post-football life. We don't care about, we have these kids that are dropping dead on the football field doing workouts. Again, last week, I think 2 kids died in off-season workouts. That kid's still getting his NIL money. Yeah, he's dead. We're not going to pay that contract. Is there a clause that says when you die, because we told you had to lose 7 pounds or we're going to rip your NIL deal? Because you know that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
Hey, if you're 7 pounds overweight, we have the right to terminate if section of the contract.
Section 6.8.7-B is the, hey, if you're 1 feather of an ounce overweight or you're 1 second late to a meeting, we're not paying you NIL money.
Listen, if that jock strap doesn't have 2 straps up the butt cheek, and if it has 1 up the butt crack, we're ripping that NIL contract from you.
Let alone if you're first team all SRT off the field. Yeah. We're just getting started. You get in any type of trouble.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, if you win a Heisman Trophy, we'll double your NIL contract.
Yeah.
If you fail to play 10 games, well, listen, if you don't start 10 games this season, we're going to have to pull that NIL deal.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, can you make sure that this guy doesn't start? Just play him in the second snap.
Because tell me again that there will not be stipulations like that in deals. And if you say to a kid, hey, if you start all 12 games, we're going to have to sit you down. We need little Jimmy over here who makes half as much money as you. And we're not going to a bowl game, so we're going to sit you down. But I have an NIL thing. That doesn't matter. I'm here to talk about ball now.
Yeah, it's what's best for the team. Hey, look, I know that you practice all week and your ankle's a little sore. We're going to have to put you in a walking boot today.
But, Coach, if I don't play, what are the chances we win this game and become bowl eligible? And if we go to a bowl game, I get a new Ferrari. Yeah, son, that's exactly why we're not playing you, right? Because that's going to happen.
Yes.
That's going to happen. All right, let's get your comments in here. Are you a fan of NIL? Where do you come down on this? Harry Austin, good morning, my favorite San Antonian. Happy Valentine's Day. I choose you, Monty, for my morning sports show. Much like James and Jake are textually in love.
Hiscock.
Harry, good to see you. We're not. John Try says 6th. I like it. Make sure everybody hits the like button. Big Blue Horses. Damn, it's early. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is, dude.
Gary says last. Dakota Tubbs, I'm here to get told what's what again today.
Well, yeah, you're damn right, dude.
This show is about the education of young Dakota Tubbs. So
Yeah.
Washington State. Here we go. Oh, we've got Washington State coming up in a minute. Mike Smith, Mountain Mama. Early morning shenanigans. Yes. Scott of Greywater Watch. Great morning to all. Scott, good to see you. Vol Slim Jimmy.
Okay,
dude. Yeah. Jay Chapman. The collapse of the NCAA is the title, but we're going to talk NBA to open the show. Yeah, LeBron almost got traded.
Yeah,
nice, and it's a breaking news story. Jay, we're fucking talking NBA to open this show.
Yeah.
If LeBron is on the verge of getting traded at the deadline, yeah, I'm going to say that's the biggest story in sports.
Yeah, and kids getting effed by NIL can wait 5 minutes.
Oh my God. Come on, man. Come on. Mark Hales, news of what never happened is not interesting to me. I'm telling you, news of LeBron James on the verge of being traded is very interesting to me.
You guys can hate on LeBron and the Lakers, and you can say, oh, well, no, it's the NBA. They're soft. I don't want to talk about them. I got news for you. When the biggest name in sports, and yes, hear me clearly, the biggest name in all of sports, LeBron James, when he's in a trade conversation, we're talking about it.
I don't know what Scott of Greywater Watch did to be departed from the show for 5 minutes, but I'm going to guess it's this comment that I'm not going to read right here that got YouTube to filter you. That's probably not the best thing you've ever said.
Yeah.
Dakota Tubbs, I'd trade Gary at the deadline. Yeah, Gary, we're sorry, buddy. You're out.
Look here, man.
Boyd Lake, this will be what triggers contracts with bowl incentives and multi-year deals. I agree 100%.
Yes.
I agree 100%. Mark Hales, so if the athlete is an employee, does he or she have to go to class? Probably not. Probably not. And I don't know, are we going to have universities that build in clauses that mandate a certain GPA to make the most money? Is that what we're doing? I don't know.
And by the way, maybe it's different at every school.
Yeah.
Stanford's probably putting that educational clause in
And
there.
again, my question is, what impact does this have? And it's what nobody's talking about. What impact does this have on college basketball and the NCAA tournament? Because you can't tell me that the NCAA tournament in college basketball is not going to be impacted by NIL and employment change. Because I think it will.
Yes.
There's no doubt. Washington State, go Cougs. I'm going to start watching the new group of 5. Should be more like NCAA than God tier. And God tier's coming. I'm telling you, if this injunction comes out today or tomorrow, when it comes out today or tomorrow, I think, God tier happened already.
In God's name, image, and
right?
likeness.
Like I think, and this is a very good point, go Cougs. I think you look at what God tier is and what it's supposed to be, it's happening, dude.
Yeah.
Bros, it's coming. And the NCAA no longer has to facilitate it because Tennessee and Virginia did. If NIL payment directly from university to athlete happens, God tier created itself through an injunction in federal court.
Yeah.
And I don't believe the NCAA will fight it. Because Charlie Baker's already trying to make it happen. The president of the NCAA, Charlie Baker, as we all know, is trying to make it happen. So why would you fight it when you're trying to institute it? And now it just got super easy. And you're like, wait, we tried. I told you.
Oh, your best player got screwed because of the fine print in the NIL contract? Yeah, look, that's not on us. I mean, we tried to tell you guys, but here we are. Again, you made the rules. Now it's time to lay in your bed.
You asked for it.
Yeah. Like it just is what it is. And I think that we like to run from the, oh man, kids are, we're not going to screw kids. They're going to be taken care of. No, they're not.
And my question is, who's going to Virginia over a higher paying school? Tennessee, okay, Rocky Top, I got you, dude. I'm feeling it. You've got cash, you've got boosters. You're a good program. You're putting guys in the NFL. Okay, I get it. I'm sorry, Virginia, you were thinking what here?
But think about like the basketball blue bloods, like North Carolina, right? Like doesn't this allow you to increase your revenue in basketball immensely? Doesn't this put you in a position where, yeah, sure, you're going to have to pay guys, but I'm telling you, the sales teams, right, that these schools are going to employ to go out into the community, go get the NIL deal so they can stick it to the players and move the cash through the school. So if the school's making, let's call it $500 million in NIL dealings, and they're only paying out, let's call it 50 to the players. You really telling me schools aren't, champing at the bit for this?
There's not an old white rich guy who's willing to take a smaller cut so a young black teenager can get paid.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Let's just call it what it is. And
Yeah.
you know the other truth here? That's why the college football playoff is going to 12. It's why it'll expand to 16. It's why the NCAA tournament is going to get longer and larger with more members. Because if universities, unintended consequences, if universities get to pay NIL money, do you really think they're going to take less profit?
And in basketball, doesn't that mean that, and all jokes aside, doesn't that mean the SMUs of the world have a much better chance now? They can go out and pay guys to come play for them.
And did we all not see the news yesterday that we had told you was coming? A $16 billion extension with ESPN for the college football playoff. Dudes, they're not.
Monty, ESPN didn't extend the college football playoff.
They're not going to make less money because they're paying athletes.
Come on.
They're going to make the athlete make them more money.
Yes.
That's the way the system works, friends.
You're trying to save
Come on
money.
now.
These dudes are out here showing you how to make more so they don't have to save.
Yeah.
It's the age-old conundrum.
Boyd Lake, the difference was recruiting and portal situation. The portal is a risk to schools. At least many of them see it that way. With schools not in control of NIL, they just don't like that. I think that's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, you have what NIL is short for young people empowered. I believe that's the exact
And
Latin
that's how I look at it.
translation.
Yeah.
You're empowering these young people. And that's never happened before, where the and again, especially I think it matters in underprivileged, communities where education is not the priority. Money is the priority. Putting your family in a better situation is the priority, right? Like that's the priority. And notice I didn't say young, Black, underprivileged. It's underprivileged because being underprivileged knows no color in this country. And I look at situations where you have kids that come from poverty who all of a sudden are multimillionaires. The unintended consequences are coming. They're coming.
Yeah.
You are, watch what you wish for here because they're coming. Gary says, yeah, I'm majoring in college athletics. Seriously.
Yeah.
Dakota Tubbs, the athlete will now be teaching Chem 101. Chem 101, taught by Bo's Dick. Yeah, exactly.
Know
right.
your role and shut your mouth.
OG Gary, salary cap of $1 million. Objective is to make it to the league. $1 million ain't winning nobody nothing.
Hear me out, Gary. That's not the objective for the school. The objective for the school is to keep these kids as long as possible now, right? Because I'm telling you, they're going to cash flow something serious off of this.
ROI.
Okay, I'm paying this kid, let's call it $10 mil a year just for easy math. Hey, Shador, I'm paying you $10 mil a year. Meanwhile, turns out the university last quarter made like $80 million in NIL. Just in that last quarter, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to need you to use promo code Shador when you buy tickets because that's the stuff we're talking about. And the other thing here is, and I know this is crazy talk. If you have a 50, 60,000 seat stadium, is that enough now? Don't you need to sell an exorbitant amount of tickets and concessions now? Look at the situation at Arizona.
A player's program.
You lost $240 million because somebody forgot to move the abacus around, right? You lost $240 million. What did they blame that on? Well, an accounting error, but also a lack of fan support for the athletic program. So now, is 50, 60,000 seats enough? Well, you're selling out your 60,000 seat football stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been the argument. And then NIL came along. Well, now I need 100,000 seats and we need to sell more tickets because we can't afford to do NIL at a level that will allow us to compete for a college football playoff championship.
This is what I'm saying. Not everybody, that's a great point. Like most schools are not going to just have extra operating cash to just start going after kids, right? So there's going to have to be this sort of renaissance, if you will, this sort of change in behavior where I'm telling you guys, schools are now no longer just educational institutions, right?
Nope.
Where like, hey, we're Stanford. We'll give you a great education. Never mind this 50-person sales rep team over here that's working the communities in a 50 square mile radius, right? Like that's what schools are going to have to do now because they don't have $1 billion or $500 million just sitting around to go rebuild their stadium. That's not how it works for schools right now.
Not at all.
So you're going to have to go out into the community and you're going to have to get revenue out of your local community. And for some schools, it'll be national if you're a big enough program. But for, the San Jose States of the world are going to have to go out into the local community and say, hey, sponsor our football program. And as part of that, we're going to work you into individual player NIL deals. Like that conversation has to happen now.
Yep. New class being offered, Gambling 101. K-Sean Booty.
Hey, Booty, can you teach us Risk Management 101?
D-Rock Irish, good morning to you. Read the fine print, parents and student athletes, bro.
The ink isn't dry yet.
You're not even joking. That's like legit. You better read the fine print.